the feeling if I leave it up to you, we might start just a little bit late. And we want to make sure that we are not only showing respect to the time allotted, but to the respect of the families that are here. My name is Romel Witherspoon, and I work for Seattle Parks and Rec, and I serve in the capacity of leadership from a mentorship perspective. But tonight I'm wearing a different hat, as we are One Seattle, and I'll be serving you as the master of ceremonies tonight, along with Davita. And we want to welcome you and welcome families and community providers, and we also want to welcome the city employees and the different advocates, and even the first responders. We want to make sure that we acknowledge you. And I understand that history is being read, but it's also being written. And the good thing about history is that it can only happen one day at a time. I'm honored to be a part of a piece of history today that our mayor has saw it fit, that we don't overstep challenges that have happened, but this will be a legacy that is set that we will always take time to remember, and that deserves an applause in and of itself.
I am Davita Briscoe. I serve under our great mayor, Mayor Bruce Harrell, as the gun violence prevention liaison. Our mayor, during his campaign, promised that he would create a cabinet-level position to coordinate gun violence response in the community, in our Seattle community, and you are looking at the first ever gun violence prevention liaison. The mayor and I have a shared vision to prevent gun violence in the city, and we also have a shared vision to ensure that Seattle is one of the safest and healthiest cities in our nation. Our mayor also strongly believes that every individual, every community, regardless to your socioeconomic background, your race, everyone deserves to feel safe and free from the threat of gun violence. Today, this day, the National Day of Remembrance for Homicide Victims, September 25th, is celebrated all across the country. We actually did a proclamation last year, so this is the second year that we are commemorating this day. Today, the Harrell administration wants our Seattle community to know that your loved one is not just a statistic. They're not just a number on a shots fired report. They're not just a shell casing on the ground. We want to give a name and a face and a story to your loved ones, to your uncle, your brother, your sister. They were a part of our beloved community, and we want to ensure that your family members will never be erased.
This day is also an expression of gratitude, not only just to our community, but also to our frontline providers in this effort to reduce gun violence. Anytime you are trying to reduce a thing, there has to be an addition on the back end, and that's what this is about. We are not only just trying to infuse you with comfort, to try and infuse you with sympathy and empathy, but also with an intellectual mindset to see to it that this does not happen again. This reminds me of the story of the dad who he had a set of twins, and he was a raging alcoholic, and they asked one twin, "Why are you an alcoholic?" He said, "Because my dad is an alcoholic." They asked the other twin, "Why have you never drank a day in your life?" He said, "Because my dad was an alcoholic," which leads me to believe that our choices are completely up to us. If we can get into the minds of our community and the minds of our youth to make the correct choice, I think we intercept half of these problems, and we see to it that we protect our city just with the mind in and of itself. And with that being said, I would like to introduce to you a 16-year-old young lady born right here, born and raised in this city. She's not only just a part of the Teen Summer Musical, but she has done voiceovers on YouTube. She's been singing since she was 2 years old, and she is going to bless us with her voice to set the tone for this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for Alana Edwards.
Of living life on a merry-go-round, and you
Ladies and gentlemen, let's let this future Grammy Award winner hear one more time. Miss Alana Edwards. I think it's important to sometimes give our kids their identity before the world does. That's why I referred to her as future Grammy Award winning. I would be remiss upon introducing our mayor to be in the church house and not distribute just a little bit of that. But I do realize that when God wanted to govern the earth and he had to somehow create some rules and regulations by way of the commandments, he sent Moses. And then when God wanted to prove that you can go from the prison to the palace overnight, God used Joseph. And then when God wanted to prove that he can take someone who was afraid and scared, but equip him with all that he needed to overcome the Midianites, that's when he chose Gideon. And then when God decided, you know what, I need more of me to spread all throughout the earth, I'm going to get 12 of my homeboys and call them my disciples so we can distribute. And then that's when I realized that God said that when I want to turn Seattle into what I believe it needs to be, that's when he rose up some 50-odd years ago, our mayor, Bruce Harrell, for such a time as this. You don't have to clap. That was good. That was good. Whether you clap, you clap it in your head, I'll take it. I will absolutely take it. The community feedback of the different independent people throughout the city of our mayor is unprecedented. And this is a mayor for this moment, in our time, in this history. It is not just his time, but it is also his turn.
As some of you may know, our mayor, Bruce Harrell, was born to parents who met at Garfield High School. His dad was African-American, came from New Orleans, Louisiana. That's where my family's from. And his mother was a Japanese-American whose parents immigrated from Japan. They met when they were 14 in high school. Our mayor, Bruce Harrell, attended T.T. Minor, Meany Junior High, and graduated valedictorian as a standout athlete and was inducted into the Seattle Public Schools Athletics Hall of Fame as a football player. Our mayor, Bruce Harrell, has said, I grew up in the Central District around fights and drug use, but also at the height of the Civil Rights Movement. I grew up around love, faith, kindness, and around community leaders who took an interest in me. I'm a product of that community, but I didn't grow up with the level of gun violence and trauma that I see now. The stakes have changed. Community feedback and independent polling show Seattle recognizes they have the mayor for this moment, time in our city history because those stakes have changed. It is my pleasure to introduce to some and welcome to others our 57th mayor of Seattle, Mayor Bruce Harrell. Oh, I think I took. No, you did. Oh, okay.
Thank you, David and Ramel. Those are kind words, very kind words. And sometimes I feel not deserving of them. I'm just going to say a few introductory remarks because we have some important discussions we're going to have this evening. I do want to recognize the pastor of this church, Kerry Anderson, is here. Thank you for letting us in your home. He's sitting next to Pastor Terrence Proctor. I want to acknowledge as well. I did see earlier Pastor Leslie Braxton. Where are you, Pastor Braxton? I said he's right here. Please recognize Pastor Braxton. I apologize if there's some others I did not see. I see 4 deputy mayors here. If you would stand just so people could recognize you, please, as well. Thank you. That's my team right there. A few remarks here. I want to welcome all of you to One Seattle Day of Remembrance for Gun Violence, which, of course, coincides with the National Day of Remembrance for Murder Victims. This year, we're bringing in a community together which consists of survivors, parents, family members, faith leaders, community organizations, civic leaders, to honor those we've lost to gun violence, centering their surviving family, their parents, their siblings, their friends, extended family, uplifting those on the front line. I see you. I see you put in the works. What are you guys doing back there? You're ruining my rhythm a little bit. I'm a rhythm mayor. We're good. We got it right? All right. Thank you. I want to go back to that part. Uplifting those on the front line working. to disrupt violence and support those impacted, and collectively moving toward action. Recognizing our communities are hurting. I said at another speech, I'm a local boy. When I was elected, you were elected. When I was elected, you were elected. You know, some of my saddest moments took place right here. I buried my grandmother, my grandfather, my mother, my father, who never lived to see me become mayor. But also some of the most inspirational, happiest times of my life. My wife of 30 years and I were married right here. Stand up so they can see you. See how I married up? You young brothers, remember, marry up. If you get one thing out of the night, marry up. Baptize our kids here. And I hope that's what we're getting this evening. Some of the most inspirational feelings, if you will, throughout the evening. We've all been traumatized, some more than others. Trauma is real. What is emotional trauma clinically? Flashbacks, nightmares, fear, depression, anger. I researched this just for these remarks. My staff didn't do this, but I thought upon myself last night. My wife saw me in my office, and I said, I want to understand something about this world. Dr. Sarah Kleiman, a clinical psychologist, said every survivor's feeling can be different, but it doesn't have to be a life sentence. The impact on the brain is what we have to think about. Dr. Colleen Sierra, founder of the Sierra Center for Behavioral Health, describes this kind of trauma as the body is in a state of hyperarousal, and the nervous system is constantly running as though there's danger 24/7. Even when the person is safe, it can manifest itself in irritability and anxiety. Again, some people can be withdrawn, numb, and empty. These are all normal reactions to trauma and pain. But on the flip side of things, the psychologists would say, what does emotional recovery looks like? Post-traumatic growth. Dr. Kleeman has stated that for some, a traumatic event can give them over time a renewed sense of purpose and meaning in their lives, a greater sense of appreciation for life. See, there's no right or wrong way to recover from trauma. Today I was blessed to have lunch with Audrey Jackson here, who I know many of you are coming here to see, and I was blessed to listen to her wisdom in her life story and inspired by the conversation we had. We know that gun violence is a public health epidemic. So again, I want to recognize our special guest, Audrey Jackson. I want to recognize our Mayor's Roundtable for Mothers Impacted by Gun Violence, that panel who have been working with my Human Services Department to identify critical gaps in services and resources. I want to recognize our community partner organizations. As I said, I see you. I see you putting in the work. And I want to recognize and thank everyone who was tempted to be here in person and perhaps even couldn't make it. They're going to watch us streaming online, but for you being here, community. I close by saying this. Tomorrow morning, I have a very important day as well. I have to present a $7 billion budget, which should be a reaffirmation of how much this community matters. As I close, I say once again, when I was elected, you were elected. And this conversation we're going to have today is part of this healing process, and I hope and pray that everyone finds some level of inspiration through the trauma that we've all experienced. Thank you very much.
One more round of applause for our mayor, ladies and gentlemen. Just to echo that sentiments to those who may be potentially struggling on a day-to-day, like our mayor mentioned, that psychological epidemic where every day you wake up and are faced with some of the same challenges. And there was a zookeeper who was tending to a giraffe, and the mom giraffe gave birth to this zookeeper. The mom giraffe gave birth, and as the baby was laying on the ground for about 15 minutes, the mom giraffe does the unthinkable, and she kicks her newborn. And the man said to the zookeeper, question, why would the mother kick her newborn? And the zookeeper said, because the mom knows that lions prey on the weak. And lions prey on those who can't keep up. So the mom is inflicting pain on the baby, not because she wants to hurt it, but she wants it to make sure it's not comfortable with staying on the ground. And sure enough, the baby giraffe eventually makes his way to his feet, and he's starting to get a grip. Nothing worse than rebounding from a fall, and as soon as you get things together, life comes right back knocking on the door again. But after 15 minutes, the mom giraffe does it again. Bow! Knocks it off his feet. That was a cold left kick right there. He was just, And the man said to the zookeeper, okay, and this word is for those who may be dealing with any type of recovery. He said, I understand why she kicked him to get up, but I don't understand why she kicked it back off of its feet. And the zookeeper said, because she wants it to remember how it got up the last time. If you were able to rebound and wake up on the next morning after losing a loved one, and you were able to put one foot in front of the other, even when those emotions show up again, you've got to realize that I've already become accustomed with the ideology of getting up like I did the last time. Think it not pain, but think it intellectual development. And with that, we are going to move into our first fireside chat, which will be hosted by Trayanne Holiday, who's an Emmy Award-winning producer and media personality. I see she got some fans up in here. I couldn't even get through it. For sure. I see what time it is. But she's also a founding member of a media directing and Kingmakers and a part of the Washington Black community. But ultimately, she does an 11 a.m. show where she hosts A Day with Trey on Converge Media. And also, shout out to those who are watching online by way of that media. And so with her brilliance all across the Puget Sound, we're going to experience that here in just a few moments.
And I also want to welcome our special guest all the way from New York, Miss Audrey Jackson. She is no stranger to the devastation and the loss that a lot of us mothers and parents have experienced. She is here to share her message of hope and healing and collective building. She is also the mother of two sons. She's the mother of the international and national hip-hop artist Bashar Pop Smoke Jackson. She is the chair and chief executive officer of the Shoot for the Stars foundation, founded by her late son, Pop Smoke, and whose mission is to transform the lives of young people through creative engagement and education, along with access to technology and inspirational experiences. I want to welcome to the stage Trey Holiday and Miss Audrey Jackson.
Let's let them hear it, ladies and gentlemen. We can do better than that. One more round of applause all the way from New York City. Brooklyn in the house.
Hi, everybody. Y'all all right tonight? All right. Well, I'm really excited to be able to facilitate this discussion with you, Miss Audrey. I really want you to be able to give an overview about who you are and how you've been continuing to heal.
So good evening, everyone. In my former church, we said namaste, right? So the divinity in me greets the divinity in you. I am Audrey Marie Booth Bryant Jackson. And my pastor emeritus used to say that as women, when we introduce ourselves, we need to introduce all our names because each one of those names is a part of our story, right? So those are all my names and those are part of my stories. I am the mother of two boys. My oldest is Obasi. And in parenting Obasi, because he is the firstborn, that was my moment to learn family and building my character and just learning about faith. Because, you're a first-time mother, you got to kind of walk through some things, especially since I was not a traditional thinker when it came to being a mother, right? Because I chose to raise my children the white way, and I did say the white way, because PTSD, post-traumatic slave disorder, is a real thing. So I chose not to live in fear and fright and over-respond physically and verbally to my children. And folk had some issues with that because they were boys. And I guess that giraffe, I was not that giraffe, sir, so I'm sorry. I wasn't kicking them, I'm sorry. And I'm going to fuss with you if you kick them too. But I get the idea. And so, that, the first one is family, friends, you're kind of growing, you're creating community. Bashar, the gentleman that you all are familiar with, I am now learning who I am as a woman and as a person in his shadow. And so at this stage, I'm figuring out, who am I? What am I doing? How am I doing this? And everything I'm accustomed to doing, and everything I'm accustomed to saying, and everything I'm accustomed to being is questioned now, even my faith walk. Mr. Witherspoon, he was preaching up in here. And I love that about the black church. But what do you do when the relationship you had, you can't really fall into that anymore, right? And so what I was told by a female rabbi is that it's like infidelity, right? Your marriage isn't over. You don't want a divorce, but you can't really stay in the house right now. And so that's been my walk. But y'all be happy to know we talking again, right? We might go on 1 or 2 dates, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't know how to get through a day without that, without my relationship with the divine. I used to think and feel something's missing, right? Like, when something happens to you and there's somebody you go and you talk to, I kept thinking somebody's missing. And I would run through the list in my head. And one day I realized it wasn't someone who was missing. It was a process that I wasn't even conscious of that was missing. It was my inner talk with my God. I wasn't having that conversation anymore. And that's what the emptiness was for me. So this is the season where I'm trying to figure out who Audrey is, what's her purpose, because, we're here for a reason. And so I have to be intentional about it now because God's trying to, get my attention. So that's who she is. She's the mother of 2, and she's just trying to figure out who she be.
Oh, there we go. I really appreciate you sharing that background because I think there's all unique stories here of everyone who is here and those who are watching that have experienced some level of gun violence in such a personal way. And we all, stitch together and weave together our journey to healing. So I would love to hear from you. How do you find the strength in those kind of tougher times? How are you building those bridges for yourself and weaving that pathway of healing for you now?
It's a daily thing. And I would say it's not a conscious thing. A friend of mine said to me, she said, "You're still here, which means you're going to live. So you might as well do it," right? Because if I wasn't going to live, I would have done something already. If I wasn't going to live, I wouldn't be here today. So clearly, I'm going to be here. But I'm going to tell you something. What is difficult, and with the team that put this together, they had certain questions they wanted to ask me, and I was like, I'm tired of talking about dead people. Thank you, sis. You got it. I'm tired of talking about dead people. Like, what are we doing with what's left? What are we doing with the energy? What are we doing with the light? What are we doing with the thing that gives us joy to know that we gave birth to that, or we had that for a little bit, right? For too short a time. What are we doing with that? So strength for me is the fact that I wake up every day and I got to figure out today. And so whatever happens today, I take it into tomorrow, because I guess tomorrow I end up waking up again, right? And I think we need to give ourselves permission. I know people probably get uncomfortable with my honesty sometimes, and I just decided I wasn't responsible for their discomfort. Because if one more person tells me he's in a better place, we're going to need bail money, y'all, and a good lawyer. Just sharing, just sharing. So I get up every day and I move, and true transparency, because I've had to make a decision this week to do something. And I had to tell the dean, I said, you're asking me to do something which is going to require me to choose to live. And I haven't decided to do that yet. I'm not trying to die. I'm not planning suicide. But I have not chosen to live yet. And so this is going to push me there. It's going to be ugly, y'all. It's just going to be ugly and snotty and just, it's not going to be nice. But I guess this is the season where I'm supposed to be doing that. But that's real. And don't feel, because it does make people uncomfortable. Because the first thing that jumped into your head was, oh my God, she's going to commit suicide. No. Because living requires you looking forward to something and planning for something that brings you personally a next step. I'm really good at doing stuff that'll help all of y'all. And that's me getting up every day and functioning in the day. That's not me choosing to live. Right? That's just me not dying. Okay. So that's where I am. Sometimes I can laugh in that. Times like today when I get to have a wonderful meal with your mayor. You know, I get to meet people I've been talking to on the internets. And those are good moments. You know, those are good moments. And I'm working on it because clearly I'm going to be here for a minute. Because every day he rigs me up.
There it is. You know, we talk about losing our loved ones, and I think for almost everyone, there is something that's always attached to that loss, and that's pain. Mm-hmm. And so hearing you talk about being conscious of what that looks like to make that choice to live, when you're dealing with those moments that may seem sometimes unbearable in the pain, how do you manage that?
I'm not sure that I do. Girl, I'm not the one. Got no stock answers, y'all. I'm just going to be here being me. I'm not sure that I do. I get up every morning and I do what I need to do. And what I'm purposed to do right now, the thing that keeps my brain occupied and my mind going is the legacy of my child, right? The thing that keeps me going, thank you, is the doing. And you all can do that too, right? Not because mine was famous. You can do that too for yours, in the spot where you live. I was having a conversation with some mothers, and their assignment in the process when I was working with them was for them to identify the thing that said to them that their child was here, the thing that they remembered the most. And one lady said that her daughter loved oxtails. I said, so you should be having a monthly oxtail dinner, and I'm coming. There you go. You know, annual oxtail dinner. If that's what your baby loved and that's what you remember of her, right? So do that thing which brings that alive for you, gives you a moment of happiness and peace. And so that's what I do. So every day that I come up with something new to extend his legacy that promotes the thing that he wanted to do, which was give back. His whole thing was giving back to young people, to taking them with him. Even when he would go into the studio or go to the label, and he would bring the guys from the community, and they were telling him, yo, they're going to steal your shine, man. Why are you bringing them? He was like, nah, let them come. That's what he was about. And so that's what, until I can do it for myself, by myself, I do that.
Powerful. Lastly, I mean, we want to be able to share these lessons. I think so much of the healing process involves the collective nature of healing, something we have known since the beginning of time and really has been practiced in so many different cultures, ethnicities, different areas of the world. What is that lesson that you've learned that you really want to impart on others here today? That one thing. I mean, you've been giving us some lessons and dropping gems. But when we think about, the one thing that you have found to be so profound in your journey of healing, there's something here that we can all learn from and glean from. What do you want that to be for folks to really understand as they're going through this themselves?
There are always options. So if you're in a really painful moment and your only way out is you're thinking that you should end it, there's an option. It may not be the option you want to take, but there's an option. So before you consciously give up, because the thing about getting up every day is that whether you want to or not, you learn something, right? And so if you wanted to check out, you learned something today that was like, wow, if I had checked out, I wouldn't have learned that today. And it's a good thing. So hang in there. If you have not done it, it means you're not going to do it. Let it go. Let it go and just keep looking for the next thing to do. Get through today. Get through today. And then when you wake up tomorrow morning, get through tomorrow. And then when you wake up the next day, get through the getting through until you can plan on getting up. Just get through it. However that looks for you, whatever that looks like for you, get through it. Just purpose yourself to get through it. And if you don't do anything to not get through it, that's your power. That's your power. Just get through it. And it may mean that you're crying. I see you, baby. I see you. I see you. It's okay. Let that go. Let that go. Don't stop her. She needed to do that. She needs to do that. And let the sound come. Let the sound come. Because you see, we don't want the sound to come because everybody else going to be embarrassed. We ain't here for them. Let your sound come. Don't comfort her here, Mama. I understand she needs to feel that. Because if she don't feel that, she'll be back in that same emotional spot tomorrow. And that's the thing I'm afraid to do. I know me. I know my demons. That's what I'm afraid to do, because I figured if I do that, y'all will call EMS on all the S's, because I'm going to be on the floor just spent, and I'm not sure I can come back, so I control it. But I'm learning that I come back. So it's okay. It's all right. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to scream, scream. If you need to holler, holler. Because it's your stuff that you need to get through, and you got to show up tomorrow for you. And I'm trying not to run over time. The other piece is, if you still have young children, I don't have a younger child, I have an older child, and I still got to watch out for him because he doesn't have his brother. And what I don't know is the relationship they had. As his mother, I know the carrying on, the cussing, and the not getting along. But I didn't see the intimacy between them. So you got to be there for you and everybody else that you're really responsible for. Cry. That's a lot. That's a lot. And you don't owe anybody stoic. What is that? You don't owe anybody that. Girl, just fall down on the floor if you need to. Tell the mayor I told you. It's going to be okay. And things like this give us permission to be all right with where we are right now. So,
thank you so much for that. Y'all, I also want to say y'all showing up here tonight, being in this place together, connecting with one another, sharing lived experiences, sharing that pain and that healing. This is really what it's about. And so I really am so grateful to see y'all here. And although there were some type of moment in your life where you lost a loved one, and that have been the impetus to bring you here, ultimately you didn't stay at home and suffer in silence. You are here.
yes.
And that is something that can be applauded as well. So give it up for yourselves for being here tonight. Thank you so much, Miss Audrey. We appreciate you. Let's give it up for Miss Audrey, y'all.
We can do better than that. Seattle, let's let her hear it. Wow. What an incredible, incredible fireside chat. As you can see, those words are sharper than any two-edged sword to those who need it. This next panel we have are survivors who suffered a loss and used their experience to take action on gun violence. Mothers are the silent victims of gun violence epidemic. There's nothing worse than someone being forced to suffer in silence. They're more impacted and more silenced. Mothers are the moral authority of the community. And our Mayor Harrell believes that those closest to the problem help drive better outcomes. Those closest to the problem help drive better outcomes.
I'll say your mayor, by appointing me to this position, did something that was pretty significant. Just piggybacking off of what he was saying, that mothers are the most impacted and we're the most silenced. And by the mayor putting me in this position, he was giving an underrepresented population a voice. That's pretty significant.
She's track fast. That's track. I know track fast when I see it. That's track fast. Wow. 4-3.
But the mayor and I, we're not silent about, I really, really appreciate your words. I really, really do. I don't normally talk about my son. Everyone, pretty sure in this room knows I lost my son in 2010. And I just wanted to share this really quick story. It's the fondest moment that I have of him. I was taking him to school, and I forgot to get him a lunch. So I ran into the 7-Eleven to get him a juice and to get him a sandwich and some chips or something. And I come back out to the car, and I notice he doesn't have a coat on. So I said, Donald, where's your coat? He said, well, I don't need a coat. I got on 3 shirts. And I said, well, if you know you got a field trip and you know it's going to rain, common sense should have said, bring a coat. And he goes, well, that's what I've been trying to figure out. And I said, what? He said, who is common sense? I will take that story with me forever. He really wanted to know who was common sense. But I really appreciate those words, because a lot of times when you suffered a loss, people they say the craziest things to you. You know, heaven needed another angel, he's in a better place. And they're just trying to comfort you, and they don't know what to say. They don't know the right thing to say. And so just forgive them. You know, I just kind of take it with a grain of salt, but I be like, I want my son back here with me. I don't want him in a better place. The better place is with me. So, you know, I just appreciate those words, and they really, really resonated with me, and I'm sure they resonated with so many other people that are in the room. This next group that is going to come up is a group of mothers. And a lot of times when we are trying to address gun violence, everybody got the answer. Everybody got the solution. Everybody know what to say to the city council. Everybody know what to say to the mayor. Everybody got all the answers. And a lot of times we skip over the victims, and we don't invite them to tell us what they need or how things need to improve. And so this group, this Mothers Impacted by Gun Violence, the Mayor's Roundtable, they were onboarded, 5 mothers were onboarded to the city through the Human Services Department to share their experience, but to take action and to use those experiences to help the city to improve how we navigate those systems, how to improve victim support services. Because let's just face it, some of us going to Harborview, we've had some terrible experiences, and I mean terrible. And so these moms came to tell us what their experiences were. They met with the King County Medical Examiner, they met with the Harborview staff, they met with our crime survivor services, and just to help us to identify gaps, help us to identify resources, help us to improve our services and systems navigation and service providers. And so they've been working with us for 2 years to give us that feedback and to help us to identify where the gaps are. And I'm going to invite up Jate Scott. Oh, there she is, right in front of me. She is our community engagement specialist in our Safe and Thriving Communities Division. She's also been very close with these moms, and they're just going to talk about some of the work that they've been doing with the city to just help encourage the people that are here. Because the question I get all the time is, what are we going to do about this gun violence, and how do we plug into solutions? And so I really want to just invite our moms up. Falana, Patrice, Melanie. Come on. Oh, so why's not with us?
I just want to acknowledge all 4 of these moms that are here today. So this is Patrice, Alicia, Falana, and Melanie. We have been working now for the better half of almost 2 years with the Human Services Department and on behalf of the Mayor's Office to really, like Davida said, acknowledge and figure out what the gaps are to be able to help and heal others so they don't have to have the same experiences, whether they were good, bad, or different. A better experience through this, the most impossible situation that we can imagine. And so today I want to just start out like we're gathered to honor and uplift the voices of our loved ones. So ladies, and I'll start on that end, we'll come this way. Please tell us about yourselves and how you continue to uplift your loved one's voice. And so Melanie, you want to go ahead and start? All right.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Hi. I continue to uplift my daughter's voice by leading with love, intention, and being a vessel for hope and healing and restoration for those that are deeply impacted by gun violence and violent crimes. My daughter, Taylor, she has given me clear signs that my life's purpose is to uplift and serve in communities who have been shattered, deeply, deeply shattered by the horrible public health crisis of gun and firearm violence. I'm really nervous, you guys. I'm sorry.
You're with family, Melanie, remember?
I was supposed to be last. During my journey of grief and loss, I recognize that I will never be the person that I once was, but I have learned that grief and loss can coexist. Volunteering my time has been essential, and in doing so, I've met a lot of people in community spaces, and it just fills my cup to get up every day and to just know that my daughter is walking alongside me during this journey. I've been working with these moms for the last couple of years, and I've known them for a couple of years. And in doing so, I'm totally going off track here, and I'm really sorry.
It's okay. There's strength in tears, so.
Yeah. What's been uplifting me really is my daughter's voice that's just kind of chimes in my ear and says, Mom, you can do this. And in volunteering and in being in community space in partnership with MIGV, I met a wonderful organization named RISE, Resilient and Sustaining Empowerment. And Lanaya Grayson is the founder and CEO. I have supported her organization since day one. She has been serving families that have been so deeply impacted, and the work that she does is amazing. So I was working with her in partnership with community, with MIGV, but now I actually work for her as her operations manager. So now I'm just tangibly touching and seeing all of the work and being impactful with the work that she's doing in community. So that is my story, and that is how my grief and loss has uplifted me in being in community. We have to love one another, be kind to one another, and just love each other.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you for sharing Taylor with us. Falana, you want to talk to us about Dewan?
Hi. Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Falana Dewan Young. I am the mother of Dewan Joseph Anderson Young. My son Dewan was murdered June 1st, 2014, 3 doors down from our home in the Central District area. Dewan was a bright, smart, funny, educated man who unfortunately was the victim of a hate crime. We don't really hear about hate crimes that much here in Seattle, but unfortunately, that's what happened to Dewan. Dewan graduated from Garfield High School in 2009 with his, with his AA and his high school diploma. And in 2012, he graduated from the University of Washington with a degree in communications. This meant a lot to me because I had Dewan when I was 16 years old. And so you always want your kids to do better and be better than you. So to see him and my daughter graduate from college, that made me feel so amazing because as a teen mom, I was like, I did that. Dewan was always thinking outside the box. Before he passed, he was encouraging me to purchase a house, and I was really nervous. I said, that's a big responsibility. I don't know. And he was like, Mom, you know, you can do it. And he helped me clean up my credit. Back then, we used to write the credit bureaus. And, and you know, he just helped me stay on track. You need to stop spending money, things like that on frivolous stuff. So a year after he passed, I bought my first home. And thank you. 9 years later, I own my third home. So when I just think about the accomplishments and just my life and how I want to live it, I think about what would Dewan want me to do. He knows I'm going to be sad. You know, Mom, don't be sad. You can be sad, but don't be sad for too long. You know, you need to live your life. And he was always encouraging me to live my best life. And so that is my motto, is I'm going to live my best life. he was very big on education, and when he passed, his sister, my daughter, had just completed her freshman year at WSU. Go Cougs. But nobody said that. Okay. One. All right, there you go.
You got one.
And so the school had found out what happened, and they reached out to us and asked her, do you want to, take a sabbatical? You want to take some time off? And my daughter was like, no, I'm gonna keep going. I know my brother would want me to do that. And soon after, she had changed her major to match his, which was communications, and hers is a emphasis on public relations. So I think she kind of did that for her brother. So for me, it's really important to tell Dewan's story and just talk about the amazing man that my son was, and just how his life was cut short. It's important to me, again, to just live my life to the fullest, travel, take those risks, do things that I never thought I could do. And so after he passed, I got a passport. I went to Europe. I've been to Puerto Rico. I've traveled because I know that's what my son would want me to do. He wants me to live. The first couple of years, they were hard. I was in the bed a lot and cried a lot, and it was a lot. But I think after each year passed, I don't know, something in me was like, you have to keep going. You still have a daughter. You still have a daughter that you have to live for. Show her that you can survive. You're a survivor. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm surviving. Every day is not always the greatest. I have my good days and my not so good days, but I have more good days than not so good days. Dewan's last post on Facebook was, "The future is always with you." And that's a quote that I believed he lived by, and I'm trying to do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Alicia, you want to tell us about your baby?
Yeah. This one works. My name is Alicia Dasa. I am a wife. My husband's sitting back there. And a mother of 5. My youngest, 12, front row. My son, Connor, was bright. He was killed in front of our home on Mother's Day of 2020. We were all there. That was a rough night. And I'm still the mother of 5. Right? People say, how many kids do you have? A whole bunch. That's how many I got. So Connor was 18 when he was killed. He was a Rainier Beach High School graduate. Yeah, because there's Beach Boys in the house. I mean, come on. It's okay. We'll take the Bulldogs, too. So he graduated from Rainier Beach High School in 2019. He was captain of the football team, class president, all the things, right? All the things, and we were like, okay, we made it. He was a freshman at the University of Washington when he was killed. He was home because the dorms were closed because of COVID. He was moving my car around the block. We had the most amazing day that day. And people say that has to be the worst day of your life, right? No, we had a great day. He saw all his grandparents, all his aunts, everybody, right? It was so good. I have pictures and videos of that day. And when I watch those videos, I realize the kids were having a water fight, and I started laughing. And I watched that video maybe 6 months after Connor was killed, and I hadn't laughed like that in 6 months. I watched that video a year later, I still hadn't laughed like that. And sometimes I still look at that video and think, okay, it's been a little over 3 years. Have I laughed like that? And I can say, I have. I have because of the people sitting up on the stage with me. I have because of my other kids and my husband and my family. So Connor got into a whole bunch of schools. It became a competition for him to apply to college. And you know, as a parent, that's a rough time because you're all over him about paperwork. Well, he got into 19 universities and colleges across the country. So I decide, that we're going to go visit all the schools in Louisiana, just him and I. So we go to visit Loyola, Tulane, Xavier, LSU, to see if he wanted to go there, right? He agreed to the trip. We spent a week on college tours in Bourbon Street and in the French Quarter, and eating lots of stuff. It was great. It was amazing. And I had this time with him that I wouldn't have otherwise had. On the way home from that trip, we had a layover, and both of our phones were blowing up. We found out it was in April, so we found out that Connor's best friend had died by suicide on the way home. He was devastated. We still had another flight to get home. He was beside himself. So a couple of days go by. He goes back to school. We had given him the opportunity to stay home and take some time. He said, nope, I'm going back to school. Okay. So he comes home the following week and he says, Mom. So I talked to the counselors at school, at Beach, and we're hooking up with this program at the University of Washington called Forefront. And it's a suicide education and prevention program. And we're going to do this. And I'm going to be the peer educator for Beach and some of the other South End schools. And we're going to have conversations about suicide prevention. And we're going to talk about how to talk to your friends when they're in that place. And I'm looking at my 16-year-old son, who is showing me the amount of grace and strength at 16 that I haven't seen in some adults in my life, right? He had decided that this thing that happened to him, and it happened to be the first person really close to him that he lost. There would soon be many more. But he decided he wasn't going to be a victim of that loss. He decided it didn't matter that suicide is an uncomfortable topic. He decided that everybody should be talking about it. And he made that his mission. So for the following 2 years at Beach, his junior and senior year, that was the work he did. And I got to go watch him give his talk to some of the homeroom classes, and I was so proud of him because the kids were engaged and they were talking about this subject that's like, nobody wants to talk about that. But he was so amazing. He was sharing his personal experience with losing this friend who, by the way, he also spoke at this friend's funeral at St. James Cathedral in front of I don't know how many people. And he did it perfectly. And I just watched him in awe. And then comes later. And he's gone. And everybody knows, I mean, it's an ugly cry. It's a real ugly cry when this happens. And my husband and I are looking at each other on the couch like, what are we supposed to do now? What do we do? And we weren't sure. So I get a message not too long ago from a mom who recently lost her son. And she said, how do I survive this? And for the first time, I admitted that I didn't survive. Well, that's weird because I'm sitting here. But the person that I was before Connor was killed did not survive that. The person that I was is gone. The parent that I was is different. My priorities changed. My tolerance for things is lower. We're in church. So it's going to be on my best behavior. But all of these things change. And I realize that person is gone. And it's okay. It's okay for that person to be gone because I have decided that I need to follow the grace and the strength that my son showed in his worst moment, losing his person. I need to show that in my life. I need to show that to my kids, to my husband, to other people. And I told her, it's okay if you don't survive. It's okay. But what you are going to do is learn how to walk with your grief. A year after Connor was killed, I went into heart failure. Weird. Never had a heart thing before. I went into heart failure, and I realized I was letting that grief crush me. And I had to figure out how to get it off my chest. It's never going to go away. It's sitting over here. There's another chair. You just can't see it. I walk with it beside me, and I had to learn how to figure out how to do that. And it's not easy. And being around other people who understand that pain has allowed me to move forward. Some people see all of us up here as victims. We're victims of gun violence. But we're choosing to survive. We're making that choice.
Thank you, Alicia. All right, Patrice, let's see if that microphone works. I think it does. Go ahead.
Can y'all hear me? I'm going to say it like this. I'm glad I don't look like what I've been through. I'm going to start it off like this. I'm glad I don't look like what I have been through. My name is Patrice Thomas. I'm a mother of 2 children that has lost their lives due to gun violence. I'm going to talk about my daughter first. Born and raised in Seattle, Washington, in the Central District, 32nd and Cherry, Garfield High School. Grew up, moved to New Orleans, Louisiana. I raised my children down south, not in Seattle. Shay, that's what we call her, the life of the party. She looked like me and my mama. Cute as a button. She graduated, to New Orleans, came back from New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. Brought him back up here. Wild child, not a wild child, but Seattle, I was like, we're gonna move to Houston, Texas. So we moved to Houston, Texas. We moved to Houston, Texas. My daughter graduated from Houston Academy at 17 years old. 2 days before graduation, called her. What you doing? She said, I'm going to go get my cap and gown for me and my best friend. I said, okay, cool. 20 minutes after that, my daughter calls me, hollering and screaming, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong? Her best friend been shot in the face by her boyfriend. So me and my mother, we gather our stuff together. We goes down there, covering her and everything. That's why I say I'm glad I don't look like what I have been through. Because if I would look like I've been through, I'll be a mess. a mess. But by the grace of God, I'm here today. So we goes to Texas, me and my mother. She graduates. She thought she was staying down there. No, you're not staying down here. You're going back to Seattle with me. Brings her back. She goes, she enrolls in Seattle U. She was a medical numbers fanatic. So she got into school, and she just wanted to be the best that she wanted to be in life. You know, life of the party, like I said. January 1st, they called me and told me that my daughter was shot in the head 3 times. 5 days before her 20th birthday. My thing is, how can a mother, father, auntie, uncle, who has raised these kids, deal with that? A month later, my daughter passed away due to her injuries. I'm glad I don't look like what I've been through. I keep saying that. 6 months after that, I get a phone call saying they shot my son in the city of Kent, Washington. I'm glad I don't look like what I've been through. I keep saying that. Because if I look like what I've been through, I will be a mess. I'm glad I don't look like what I've been through. My son, Dwayne Tyson, 19 years old, hanging out with his friends. Just hanging out. Now, my son, I raised him up with my other I have 4 kids altogether, by the way. So I'm acknowledge them as well, okay? Hanging out with his friends. But my son had different trials and tribulations besides my daughter. My son did juvenile life in Texas. So being a mother that had to travel back and forth to see her son been shackled down like he's a grown man and can't do nothing for my son. And to bring him back to Seattle to write letters to Houston, Texas to say my son just only smoked weed. Let my son go. He didn't murder nobody. He didn't do nothing. He was just being a regular kid trying to experience something. And to bring him back to my home, Seattle, Washington, that I was born and raised, that I could walk to Leshai Beach, Madrona Beach. You know what I'm saying? Catch the bus to South Center. Catch the bus to anywhere I wanted to go and have no problems. No problems. But to bring both my children back from where I raised them from, and to understand that in 2 years that I brought my children back in Seattle, it is the way it is. That is so devastating to me. To all our mothers, you know, I'm happy that I have my sisters. I call them my sisters, not my friends. These are my sisters. But to bring my children back to a place where I raised them and they love, and to get a phone call at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm walking around in circles, walking around in circles, walking around in circles when she passed away. And then 6 months later, they called me again at 10 o'clock, not 5 a.m., but 10 p.m. and to go up to the hospital, and they don't know where my son is. He's still dead on the ground. And then when we get up there, they laugh at me and told me, we know it's him. Y'all could go home. Wait a minute. Hold up. Y'all know me. I'm about to catch a case right now. Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Okay? But me being me, I held it all together. But my kids, I miss my kids, and my kids was great kids. They both graduated, got their diploma, did what they needed to do, and I live for my other two kids and my grandson that I have. Because if it wasn't for them, I don't know where I would be right now. But to all the other mothers that are in here, that think that you don't have an outlet, just stay strong. You know, my word is, and they will tell you, one day at a time, one step at a time, one word at a time. If you want to sit in your bed, this is what I do. I sit in my bed. And if my leg don't want to move, don't move. Don't move. Okay? No matter what no one says, oh, girl, no. Because you don't know what I've been through. And you don't know how my heart is beating at this time. My heart is beating at one time. They tell me, I'm from the Central. I'm from the CD, for real, for real. You know, I'm from the CD, for real, for real. And they tell me I'm the strongest one around. But they don't know for real, what I go through. Every single day, getting out that bed. Every single day. And people just want to hug you. I say, don't hug me. Don't ask me how I'm doing. I have a best friend that her son just passed away not too long ago. Yeah. What I tell her is, how's your day going? Because don't no one want to know, like, how you doing? Not good, for real. I'm not doing good. I'm not doing good at all. So please, but
thank you.
My kids, okay.
No, go ahead.
My kids, and I love my kids. There was my two oldest kids, and they give me the power to wake up every morning to make sure that their two brothers and my grandson is okay. And it's just, I look to them.
Thank you. These are some powerful women, and I know that there's some moms in the space. But I do want to just wrap up by saying this group, Mothers Impacted by Gun Violence, as you guys have heard through this night, is they've been doing a lot of work. But one of the biggest accomplishments as they transition into a bigger space is the Parents of Mothered Children chapter. It's the first chapter in Seattle, the Evergreen State chapter. And their first kickoff meeting was September 19th, so just a few days ago. A virtual meeting, and to support those who have lost their loved ones. Now, you don't have to just be a parent. You can be a sister, a brother, a child, a sibling. But if you guys want to see them afterwards, they'll definitely be able to, if you feel like you're a member of that group and you need someone to cry on and be in a space where people are a lot like you, please find these moms this evening and get that information. That meeting is every third Tuesday from 6:30 to 8:30. Thank you, guys. Can you guys give them a round of applause?
Let's let those mothers hear one more time, ladies and gentlemen. I thought I knew pain, but that is seemingly indescribable. And somewhere I read, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And so I can appreciate all of those mothers who were impacted and the loved ones who were impacted. If you all can hang in there just a little while longer, we're almost coming to an end. And this next young lady, which is perfect timing to add a wrinkle into our subject topic on today. And she goes by the name of Tia Nashay. Tia Nashay is, yes, sounds like people already know who she is. It's not on the bio, but because I know her, I guess I'll be generous enough to say that she is a Franklin graduate. Didn't even feel right. My God. Starting to itch, break out in hives. I need some Benadryl. Tia Nashay is Seattle-born, Seattle-bred, and Seattle's own. She's the future of spoken word. She's an educator. She's a live entertainer, a longtime educator, a former high school teacher, a former principal. She's partnered with Acts on Stage. She just starred in her first one-woman show that was absolutely incredible and called That Talk You Do. She went viral on social media, had everybody reposting her spoken word, and you're about to see just what type of prolific orator she is. I think she has mastered the art of explanation on top of the clarity of thought and articulation of speech. That's free. Add that. That's free. I get you. Add that. Articulation of thought and clarity of speech is literally the definition of what you are about to hear. And I believe that success does not just come to those who wait. It comes to those who are too busy to even look for it. And that is who we are about to hear from. So without further ado, let's give a warm, rousing welcome for Tia Nashay, the orator.
Thank you. Thank you. Whew. Amen. Can we give you all a hand praise? Give God a hand praise to be in this space. I just want to honor all the survivors, all of those who have been inspirations to us about living tonight in so many of the ways that we need to remember to live. I'm just humbled to be here, honored to be here among you. I'm a Franklin graduate, but I am from the South End. Does that count for something? Okay. Born and raised, I grew up on 45th and Kenyon. I mean, you know. I still live there, so and so I'm proud to be a Seattleite. Everywhere I go, I say I'm a Seattleite. People be hating on Seattle. And so I'm glad to be a Seattleite. I want to share some spoken word with you. I don't typically have notes. I brought some because I'm navigating the weight in this room, and it's good for me because it's perspective leveling. It gives me a chance to really think about what it means to be alive. Only if we could do this twice, we take the notes from the first life, erase the mistakes, edit the retakes, and delete scenes. Life is a one-time only, all cells final, no returns kind of thing. Only if we could do this twice, we take the notes from the first life, erase the mistakes, edit the retakes, and delete scenes. Life is a one-time only, all cells final, no returns kind of thing. There will be no exchanges whether or not you have a receipt. I repeat, there will be no exchanges whether or not you have a receipt, so be happy with your purchase because it's yours. You are what's in store. Everyone says life is priceless, and that's cliche as cliche can be, but it's real. You can't place a value on the ability to live and feel to be alive. Death will darken the sun in every sky, but we live to live. We don't live to die. I know some of the living dead who dread the sounds of their own heartbeats for fear they might not be enough. But no matter what, no matter how hard it is, I need you to live. Love the skin that God made in every hue and every shade. Decide that dying is not, decide that living is better than being broken. Heaven's masterpiece, created from his heartbeat, merely more than flesh and blood. I was shaped in love, fearfully and wonderfully made. God knew what you need. His spirit planted the seed before the first breath you gasped to breathe. Our mother's womb held the work he wrought. Our soul existed long before his thoughts, as his fingerprints have no twin. In his righteousness, I'm set apart from men. How I love, God loves me too. When I fall short, in him I'm new. Immersed in your very presence, God, we're made perfect and unflawed. Your craftsmanship compares to none. Glory to the highest for what you've done. The fowl of the air, the flowers of the field. This is the worship that creation yields. May the trees sway to the music of the wind's breeze. May the rocks cry out, but not for me. Let me worship who you are, God, on my own. Let it be my life. Let it be this poem. For every tear-filled eye, for every frustrated day, in our darkest hours, we'll remember to say that you make everything glorious. Can you say that with me? That you make everything glorious. That you make everything glorious. And that means me. Our love soothes the pain of our loss. The weight of this cross, forgetting is a choice, but we choose to remember. We won't let the cause of death hinder our hearts. These are not statistics to chart. We know these names by heart. These are our loved ones. Daughters and sons not lost, but taken by bullets and guns. Today we honor the heroes not so loudly sung. How we survive, now we survive. Our memories keep us alive. Remind us with love we must lead, in hopes to plant new seeds, put a face to an empty shell case, fill the space with faith, in hopes to not be swallowed whole by grief. Hopelessness is a thief. Belief keeps us in pursuit of peace. Wage wars at corner stores, families torn apart at the seams. It seems as we've forgotten how to dream. It seems we have forgotten how to dream. Death's truest crime is being robbed of time and imagination. Healing will be our salvation. Repurpose this pain. Choose new targets to aim. Repurpose this pain. New targets to aim. Tame the beef in these streets. Tame the beast in these streets. This gunfire must cease, but that will be more than black and blue. That'll be me and you. We'll do more than pray for peace. We'll take a stand. We'll do more than point fingers. We'll make a plan. Honoring those whose harm has left holes. Remembering those who continue to serve and heal. Who know remembrance and gratitude will help us to heal moving forward. God bless you.
Wow. Well done, Tia Nashe. She said, these are not statistics to chart, but we know these names by heart. And even the word says, thy word have I hidden in my heart, so I won't sin against you. Protect your heart, because everything flows from it. Everything, the derivative is from your heart. So very much appreciate that. One more time for Tia Nashe for those words of healing. This next panel that we have coming up, they have selected to do for a living what most would turn their back on, is that they sign up to save lives of others for a living. And we often get bombarded with the increase of homicide rates, and the news fails to report on the positive work that is happening to reduce gun violence. But our community providers who are on the front lines interrupting violence in the community, they don't get a lot of credit that they deserve. They're heroes that don't wear capes. They're the small things and the minutia that you can't see. And I realize that success is not always in what you can see, it's in what you cannot see. It's not always in what you are willing to do, but it's in what you're willing not to do. And so we want to thank those frontline people today.
Again, a question that I'm always asked, especially by Trey Holiday. She said, and what you see here today is a question that she proposed to me was, what are we going to do about gun violence and how do we plug into solutions? It's just not enough to just offer our families thoughts and prayers. People want to know, how do we stop this? How do we stop the cycle of violence? And what are we doing? What is our county and our city? What are we investing in? And so we're going to have a short video of our hospital-based intervention team that's up at Harborview. And again, a lot of people, I can't tell you how many times I've been to Harborview and seen devastation and witness my loved ones not making it out of there. And so Harborview has launched a program called Hospital-Based Intervention, and I'll tell you a little story behind that. In Milwaukee, there was a 9-year-old boy who was admitted into the emergency room for accidental injury. Then 2 years later, when he was 11, he was admitted again for contusions from an assault. When he was 13, he was admitted again for stab wounds. When he was 15, he was admitted again for a gunshot wound to the leg. And then when he was 16, he was shot in the chest and he died. And what the hospital staff had realized is that we can repair this young man's wounds, but we weren't stopping the cycle of violence and we wasn't curing the disease of violence. And so that young man's story started what they call Project Ujima. Project Ujima is one of the co-founding members of the National Network of Hospital-Based Intervention. And right there in that hospital, they realized that this is where we can start to start reducing gun violence. We can start supporting victims instead of just sending them back out into the same environment to either become a perpetrator of violence or just to be re-injured. And what I think people don't know is that 66% of the people who get shot survive. And they have a high chance of either being shot again or committing another homicide or another crime. So the hospital-based intervention, there's Paul Carter. He wasn't here wasn't able to be here with us, but he was also a survivor that works at Harborview, that goes right there bedside by every single victim, helping those families to get connected to services. There's also our community violence approach, our public health approach to gun violence, and that's investing in our community practitioners. And I just want to, we'll recognize everybody later. We'll play this transition video. But after that, I want to welcome up Dom Davis from Community Passageways, Chantel Patu from Urban Family, Marty Jackson. Oh, you guys can come up now. Marty Jackson from the Southeast Network. Where's Marvin Marshall? Oh. Okay. So. All right. Okay. Fine. I'm sorry. Okay. So these 4 organizations: the YMCA, Alive and Free, Dom Davis Community Passageways, Chantel Patu Urban Family, and the Southeast Network Boys and Girls Club. They came together to form. These are black and brown led organizations that came together to do crisis intervention response. They do hotspot mediation. Dom's program supports some of the victims that come from the hospital. These are our frontline workers that are doing. Yeah, they're the real heroes. They're the.
I think there are a number of different ways that you can approach gun violence. However, for us looking at the bigger picture and how, what's happening, I don't think that we can address it locally and in our neighborhoods until we understand what it also looks like, not just in the city and in the state, but across the country. Speaking to how we came together says a whole lot about the work we're doing together.
We all come from different areas of the community providing our services for the most part. And it was kind of a natural kismet relationship, if you will, to start providing some of this type of support in the neighborhoods. Southeast Network and Urban Family partnered to provide services in Southeast Seattle. Community Passageways handles the Central District, and the YMCA handles the West Seattle area.
When we look at the SCSI structure, we're looking at having a street team, having case managers, and we're looking at pouring resources into community.
In the Firearm Injury and Policy Research Program, our mission is to conduct interdisciplinary research alongside our community partners to inform policies and practices and programs that prevent firearm-related harm and gun violence.
It's great that we're doing our best to take care of patients medically and surgically and doing the best that we can around that, but what else can we do? And I think a lot of trauma centers are really sort of focusing on this and talking about this. What can we do to sort of break this cycle of violence, to prevent another injury, to support those who are injured in their recovery and try to get them to a better place?
That collaboration at Harborview is super valuable. We're at the hospitals dealing with people that are victims of gunshots so we can help them navigate getting into a safe environment to heal. We get safety plans in place. We put goal plans in place. We walk it out with them. We're also in the courts working with young people who have committed these crimes, right? Or also even in the streets recruiting the young people to try to pull them in, to give them therapeutic services, deal with homelessness, deal with opportunities for employment, wraparound services, support teams, right? To let them know that there's people that love you and support you in this community.
Southeast Network has been in this parking lot. They were having shootings on a regular basis. We have memorials behind us that are representations of that. Once they started setting up shop and offering food and giving resources and making this a community feeling and airing the parking lot, the incidents decreased. That's a big deal, but no one's looking at it from that perspective.
I want to continue to see the smiles from these people that I help instead of the kind of lost look that a lot of people have when they come in, because they don't know what their next move is going to be.
One of the things that gives me hope is some of the success stories. You know, when I see a young person in community that has benefited from some of the outreach, has benefited from some of the support, has benefited from some of the services, be able to say, hey, big bro, you know, maybe I didn't get it at that point, but I picked it up. You know, you were planting seeds and they're starting to, you know, bloom.
Thank you all for the work y'all are doing. And quickly, the video did give us a good summary. Just one highlight from each of you about the importance of you pouring your energy into this work. I'll start with you, Ms. Chantel.
Thank you. A highlight for me is actually it's working with my team. I think each of us started our organizations or started the work a while back. And so to do it together has been a different sense of support and kind of a shoulder to lean on. We reflect often that most of us have been impacted by gun violence ourselves personally. And so the kids that we've lost, and the numbers are great. There's not a place for us to find solace and like peace in the work, except for when we meet together and talk about the things that we're trying to accomplish, and we cast vision with each other. And so for me, that's a huge highlight to have people that I can lean on in this work.
Yeah, I can ditto that. Working with this collaboration, it's the project of getting everybody out of their silos, because we had a lot of people doing a lot of great work siloed, right? Now you have black organizations that care about their community, that grew up in this community, that have roots in this community, coming together outside of silos, overlapping our services, building capacity with each other, cross-referring people to each other, and building this system for us to just be able to help our community at another level, right? It's going to take all of us to come together, even the people in this room. Everybody's going to have to come together to solve this problem that we're facing. It's a high-level problem, and it's deep-rooted, and it's about an indoctrinated mindset of violence that has been put in our community for a very long time, and we're generation after generation of perpetuating this cycle of violence on each other. So how do we break that cycle? Well, I have a saying I made up, is we want to turn them into us. We want to have more of us than them, and then turn them into us, is what I say, right? How do we make the community become accountable for the way the community operates? How do we hold each other accountable? How do we talk to our nephews, our nieces, our cousins, our little brothers, our little sisters, and tell them it's time to stop? We're done with it. Us adults run this community. Us adults are responsible for our children. right? How do we stop them? We got to step into space and do it. So this collaboration is building an army. We have to build an army to go out and bring love, compassion, and empathy into our young people's lives so they can start putting down these guns.
I would just add to that in terms of this collaboration. It hasn't been done before. I've been doing this work for over 30 years, and we came together organically from the pandemic and the impacts of the pandemic and understood the need for each other. We understood that we are not the be-all, end-all answer, our organizations, ourselves, our teams, and we understood at the point we were at, losing the amount of young people we were losing and the uptick in crime in our own neighborhoods, we understood the need for each other. And we came together out of that need, and we came together and aligned our resources, and we broke bread together, literally and figuratively, and we thought about what can we do with what we have, and then what do we need, and how do we collaborate together and go after what we need for our community.
I will piggyback on a lot of what they said. They pretty much summed it up. I also think, for me personally, being that I was one of the kids that we aimed to help, back 20 years ago, I probably needed an outreach worker. I grew up in Seattle, South Seattle, Columbia City, all the stuff, and I was one of those kids kicking up dust. So for me to be working in the city that I grew up in and to be able to work in the communities, you know, going to Rainier Vista back before they remodeled and all that. You know, I went to Franklin, I went to Beach, all that is important, you know, and so looking at the collaborative and what we've done, we've been able to hire a lot of folks from community. And for me, that's big. Being able to give community a platform to do work in community is huge. I want to say, what would you say, upwards of like 60 to 70, you know what I mean, 60 to 70 positions amongst our few teams, you know, folks in community doing work in community. So for me, that's the biggest part. Outside of being from Seattle, from the inner city, all the stuff, before the gentrification, all that, being able to give community a platform to do work in community is probably my biggest motivation.
Well, I really appreciate the plethora of your responses to that. And, you know, as we're here honoring those that we've lost tonight, I just really want to hear how we can share these solution-based approaches with everyone. You know, how do we all pour in to the work that y'all are doing on the ground? You know, you kind of said it. I mean, it's on us to be able to have those tough conversations with our family members who we know are in the periphery of gun violence, who may have been in the heart of the storms. You know, tell us more about how you see community pouring into the solutions y'all are crafting. Chantel.
If you see something, say something. I think too often we're too quiet. People act like they're afraid of their kids. Somebody has access to that kid. We try to post up at schools. We provide mentorship programs. If you can't reach your kid, reach out to somebody that can. Don't ignore behaviors and get in your kid's business and find out what they're doing. We were just at a family's house, and the cops raided their house, and the parent found out all this stuff about their kid just because they had never even went in their room. I'm sorry, but my kids, you don't pay rent. That's my room. You find out what's going on in your kids' lives. Don't be afraid. They'll be mad. They'll get over it. Turn off your internet. You'll find out who your kids are. But I'm just saying, get in their business. You got to find out. I respect privacy, and I understand all the new waves we have moving with privacy for kids, but they still need to be governed and supervised.
One thing that I just want to touch on for that question is stop glorifying gang violence. Stop glorifying violent lyrics and music. Stop glorifying saying your son's gangster and he's hard or he's a hitter. And we're glorifying this. Right? We have to stop glorifying it. That's the first thing we got to do. The second thing we got to do is understand the resources that are available for your children and for these young folks that are out here, right? A lot of them really don't want to do what they're doing, but where are they getting the positive reinforcements, right? If they're not getting them in athletics or in school or at home, they're going to get it in the streets with the little homies, right? Oh, he's a hitter, he's a gangster, he's a shooter, he's popping off, right? Young men need positive affirmation. Young men need somebody to say something positive to them. And 9 times out of 10, young men need other men, right? That are going to be positive influences. They're looking for a big bro, an uncle, a dad, a father figure. They need that. They want somebody to be stern and let them know this is what you ain't going to do no more. Here's the direction we're going to take you. I'm going to show you this path. Let us open this door and take you down there. We have to step up as men and step into these young people's lives and start bringing them underneath our wings. We can't just keep sitting back looking at them, shaking our finger in our head saying, oh, look at these bad kids. We got to stop doing that. We got to step into their lives. And we need to start bringing groups of young men together and have the men come in, the women come in, start working with the young lady. We need to build a community within a community. Build a system within a system. When we're walking into these courtrooms, trying to get these young people to do the right thing, trying to get the judge not to give them life, or trying to get the judge not to sentence them for long, extraordinary sentences, right? And we talking to them and say, we want this kid back in our community eventually. We need to have community in those courtrooms. We need to be in there 50 people strong, saying we got a system in place and we're going to support them. Like there's a bunch of things we got to do. But at the end of the day, it's about us getting off our butt and quit judging and ridiculing and then quit talking and glorifying it and come in and do some work.
Before I answer, can't answer without acknowledging our teams who are here today, we're not bigger than the team. And so I want to acknowledge, I know my team, Southeast Networks here, Community Passageways, Urban Family, and YMCA. It is the endless work that the team members do every day. It's all of those things that were mentioned earlier that you don't see that have contributed to incidents that have not escalated, that have not ended in a fatality or a critical incident. So thank you all. I would just add that I believe we all play a role, right, in our communities as it relates to gun violence and other issues in our neighborhoods. I think we all have a responsibility. Now, just because we've chosen to sacrifice our lives, but we've chosen to be in this field, right? To whom much is given, much is required. There are a number of things that come with this territory that I understand at the end of the day, I signed up for this. And so I don't have that same expectation of everybody else who didn't sign up for this. What I will say to you is that you can either contribute to this or you can sit back and not contribute, but understand this. We've been experiencing, I'm going to say me in my neighborhood, the Rainier Beach South End neighborhood, have been experiencing gun violence for a number of years. I graduated from Rainier Beach High School, go Vikings, you know I'm having to say that out loud. But really, when I think about, was that a sign to stop? Okay. So just thinking about, again, the role that people play, it's amazing to me that when you become a victim, then you care. When you become a victim or a friend of a victim or your family is impacted by what we experience on a day-to-day, on a regular, then it's important. Then it's a priority. And that's the unfortunate thing that I've seen happen throughout our community. Because there are communities who didn't experience to the level that they've experiencing it now or since the pandemic. But understand there are a lot of us who consider this normal because we grew up in it, thinking this is normal, and have been walking around with trauma, not realizing that these behaviors and all of these impacts and that the way that we've responded to violence is not normal. And it's taken this issue of violence or this across our country for us to recognize it. And so, to me, if you are any person, that you don't have to be in this field, time, talent, and treasure is what I've been saying. You either give your time, you give your talent, or you give your treasure. But I say the three because we all can't be in the same role, and some of you are not called to this, and I would ask you to continue in your day job or whatever you've been purposed to do in life, because everybody's not called to do this in particular, right? But what we are called to do as community is to help, to support, to figure out where we find out what's going on in your neighborhood.
I am just remiss by the amount of people who don't know what's happening. And those of you who don't know what we're doing, find out, because we've been at Safeway for the last 3 years, and every single Friday, with tents, music, food. I mean, you can't miss us, right? And others of us have been in our other neighborhoods on Jackson, over in West Seattle, and Skyway. Like, if you look, you'll find out what we're doing to contribute to this issue of gun violence. We know that it isn't just the front line and the things that you see that are maybe a little bit more concrete and easier to understand because you can see certain things, but it really are the things that you don't see behind the scenes. We get our biggest wins when we can help to empower a young person to change their mind, right? When we can give somebody resources so they don't go upside your head and steal your wallet or break into your house. That's a win every single time, but guess what? You're not going to see it because it's not in the numbers. You're not going to see what we prevented because that's not what's reported, right? And rightfully so, you're not going to know that, right, unless we tell it. And so I'm telling you today, there are a number of young people who have not invaded your home because of the work that we've done and the relationships we've created. There are a number of people who didn't go upside your head while you were walking to your car because we have been able to impact them. They make the decision, but we do a lot of loving on these kids, and we do a lot of relationship building, and it's through these relationships that we gain access. Our model is related by relationship. You'll think we're related to all these kids, but we're not. Most of them we're not. However, it's those relationships that have given us access, and because kids have experienced love and adults have experienced that, they're able to see something different. They're able to have some hope, so maybe I don't have to keep doing this. Maybe there is another way. And anytime we change a mind, y'all, that's somebody who doesn't decide to be a perpetrator or make you a victim. And so you're welcome to everybody that we prevented from stopping all of the crime, because we always talk about what's happening out here. But we ain't talked about all the people I know I've seen. I'm like, dang, I'm so glad he done changed his life. Because Lord have mercy, ain't no telling what would have happened in the parking lot. And so I'll end there and pass it to my colleague.
Boy, is it hard to follow that. In short, I think some key that Marty touched on is everything in this work is done through relationship. You know, I can't get a young person to do anything if I haven't built up that equity with them to show them that I'm going to be there to support them whether they're right or wrong. You know, and so my answer to the question, I think, would be to get back to the village approach. You know, how do we get back to the village approach? I think that's going to be different for each and every one of you. But that's what I would task you with, to decide what that means for you and try to get back to the village approach. It's going to take that. I'm raising, well, I got 3 kids, but I'm raising 2 young boys, 8 and 5. And for me, I do this work because I wonder what Seattle will be like when they're old enough to make decisions about what life's going to look like for them. You know, and my daughter, the baby girl, she's a boss baby. You know, we really, really have no idea what Seattle will be like 15, 20 years from now. So for me, I'm invested in the community right now. You know, outside of my past and what I did in community, I'm looking at the future. And I still live in Seattle. What is Seattle going to be like for my kids? What is Seattle going to be like for your kids? You know, and so I would say the village approach, what that looks like, I don't have all the answers. You know, but you have to define that for yourself. What does that look like? You know, so village approach is what I would say.
I love it. You know, you talk about the village approach, and I just want to say that's exactly why my 9-year-old son is with me today. To see this, to be brought up in this, to understand that he is a part of something that is bigger than maybe just our family home, that is bigger than the people he's related to by blood, but that we can all be connected. And that's another way. For those of you who do watch my show, I'm always saying, see yourself as a part of the solution. So I want to give a big round of applause for all of the work that these folks are doing. Let's give it up for them, y'all.
Can our urban family teams stay standing? Our community passageways teams stay standing? Our Southeast Network, community passageways. These are all the people who are on the front lines doing work every day. I want you guys just to thank them all. With that said, I'm just gonna invite our mayor, Mayor Harrell.
Is I think Pastor Braxton, did he leave? No, he's still Pastor Braxton, Pastor Anderson, Pastor Proctor. Now you see how it is when you all keep us up in church for these hours and hours and hours of sermon, how it is up in here now. You get a little taste of it. And your dad ain't any better. I'll make it brief. I'll make it brief. I want to acknowledge that King County Councilmember Gurmai Zalahay was here. I don't know if he's still here, but he is always present at these kinds of discussions. Ramel Witherspoon and Davida Briscoe, I want to recognize you for your brilliance. Leaders. I'm going to talk about, you're going to see the hard side of me right now. You saw the sensitive side in me. Now I'm going to say the hard side. The hard side says is that I have to figure out a way to convert all of this into action, baby. Action, because you all are doing the work. It's my honor to support what you're trying to do. I have to say a few lessons. Number one, there's two ways to effectuate change: through policies and through investments. That's where the action comes from. Policies are sort of quiet. And when I say that, to say that the politicians make the policies. I have to have you become politically active. The war on drugs was started by politicians. I've been to countries where we do not have the level of gun violence. Our country is a violent country. So I need all of you to be involved in politics. I don't even care if you are prohibited from voting by law. The fact is, when I grew up in the Central District, black folks was 75% of the population here. 75%. It's less than 7% now. Policies. And what I'm trying to impress upon you is that we may be few in numbers, but we are mighty in strength. You heard some brilliance up here. I almost want to call them out by names because I was taking notes. One time, Marty said to my office when I was on city council, she says, Bruce, maybe she said council member Harrell, I don't know what she called me that day. And she says, the city has to figure out a way to stop having us compete against each other in this kind of work. That came from her brilliance. When Dom talks about building community and talking about men being men, leading, taking our identity back, that's the kind of investment the city has to make. I need you to understand that I have four deputy mayors here that control the $7 billion city budget. They're sitting here because they want to know what smart investments are, and this is a smart investment. To the queens that spoke, it will be their heart, their beauty, their compassion, their wisdom, indeed their love that's going to save this city. And in this city, we're going to save this country. I believe that the answers in this country are found right here. You saw this brilliance. Two closing thoughts. We are part of a community. Now, a lot of people see me wearing this fancy suit. You know what Reverend Braxton, Reverend Proctor, and I got in common? We get our suits from the same man that comes in town, and we get measured up, and we try to hide it. But we have also in common that we find our strength on our knees. We find our strength on our knees in prayer. This community, even if you live outside of the city boundaries, even if you went to, dare I say, Franklin High School, dare I say, Rainier Beach High School. Our daughter actually went to Cleveland High School, so there might be some Eagles in the nest up in here as well. But in all seriousness, our community is strong. You don't hear me using terms like underrepresented. Look at this representation. What's underrepresented about this group? You don't hear me using terms like marginalized. Who in here feels marginalized? We are powerful beyond measure. And as the mayor of this city, I will uphold our strength. The mothers, I said I was going to show the hard side, but the soft side comes out too. My mother buried my brother. And my wife and I have been through a lot of deaths in our family. But I held the hand of a mother who lost a son. And I wouldn't put that on any mother. But I found strength in that woman. I found a strength in that woman that allows me to be vulnerable, but allows me to be powerful beyond measure. Because my strength comes from God. I know my North Star, and I will tell you my strength comes from you, this community. And remember who's not in this room. Who's not in this room, the people that may not care about this agenda. But we do. So through your leadership, Dom, Marty, I can go down the list, brother. From your leadership, we're going to put this thing together. The song, the dance, Audrey, you've blessed us, sister. You blessed us, sister. So in Olympia, I'm going to be calling on a lot of you to join us in lobbying. We had some phenomenal bills out there. House Bill 2012-40, 1143, Senate Bill 5078, what we're trying to do with gun regulation. Your vote, your lobbying, your voices matter. People need to know this story. Like, I think it was Marty that said that until it affects them, they might not have got this work, right? So working with my administration, and by the way, I recruit folks, man. I recruit folks because I cannot do this alone. I'm blessed to have this kind of leadership. I'm blessed to have this kind of community. So we're going to be politically active. Davida, we're going to advance these policies, and we will make history together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Oh, I'm sorry.
I wanted to recognize it. Councilmember Lisa Herbold's in the house. Where are you, Councilmember Herbold? Stand up and be recognized. Right here. I didn't recognize. Thank you for being here. Public safety chair right there.
And now kind of the moment we've all been waiting for, and we want to really thank everyone for submitting their pictures and their memorabilia to this video. So next we're going to have our video that we would like to present.
I think there's one mom that thinks that her son's picture didn't get included, Ezekiel Taylor, so I just wanted to bring that her son's name in the room, but I think I got the picture in, so we'll see.
all of us who have lost bright stars in our community. I've been tasked, after such a powerful, heart-evoking video, to give words of encouragement and share in our covenant. I'm reminded that sometimes art imitates life, and sometimes life imitates art. And there are rare times when art challenges and inspires life and its journey. I'm reminded a year ago, May, was the 50th anniversary of a masterful opus that almost didn't get published. It was thought to be too challenging and non-profitable to hit the market. This opus served as a social commentary and challenged us all to do better. In it had the call of recognizance, a roll call to restoration. I don't know, you all may be too young to know it, but the project again was stifled by the powers that be. And the author said, no, I got to do this because God gave me this. What do you want to do? Stop God from talking? Well, beloved, you may have heard it. Marvin Gaye's What's Going On was a commentary inspired by the provocative inquiry when his brother Fred came back from Vietnam. He said, brother, 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 what's going on? Masterful opus that gave critical commentary that Barry Gordy say we can't make no money in this. And beloved, there are those who profit from our tragedy and don't want our story to raise the rhetorical social examination, what is going on? That's the recognizance. We've got to keep our head on the swivel and not just bury the victims, but go further upstream and ask the question, what in the world is going on? Marvin penned with poetic prose and pinpoint precision a roll call, mother, 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 there are far too many of you crying. Father, 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 we don't need to escalate. And he lands again, brother, 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 what is going on? And so the roll call is in the room. It's you, it's me, it's us. Mothers, far too many crying. Fathers, we don't need to escalate or retaliate. But it's roll call time now. And they invited me to come, and they don't want you to preach, but all the MC preach. How you going to tell the preacher? And I'm so encouraged by all the frontline workers. Many of them were my students. And we need you. We need to support you, stand with you. And everybody can't go because everybody ain't called to this. And it may do more damage, but if you can't go, so. But as we put our recognizant head on the swivel and see the breaches in our community, it is up to us to restore it. And we've got to get to work as watchmen and watchwomen on the wall. The restoration project is an inside job. But as Marvin said, God is speaking. And the answer for us is actually outside of us. But don't ever let us get so sophisticated that we refuse to look up. And God help us if we squander this critical moment. This is why we're here. This is why we went through what we went through, and he brought us here, and he's gone ahead of us to build a better there. They told me not to preach, but they let the cat out the bag when they brought Reverend Witherspoon. So as much as we quote the prophet of Motown, I'm reminded of Acts 27. I'm too close to the altar not to quote the scripture. Paul was shipwrecked, and he told everybody, the ship ain't gonna make it, but you hold on to what's left, because the one that called us will bring us to shore. And I stopped by to tell you, yeah, it's a lot going on, but it's roll call time now. Don't give up the ship. Hold on to what's left. And the one who's called us is still speaking in us, to us, and will speak through us. And if we hold on, he'll bring us on the shore. But now is the time for all hands on deck. We can do this. How do I know? Because God said so. God bless you. I'm Terrence Proctor, proud graduate of the Franklin High School, and I approve this message. At this time, as we prepare to conclude, we want to leave reiterating our covenant. Would you please stand and join us in the covenant? Are we reading intermittently? How are we doing? All right. All right. Let us read together the covenant. We honor Sankofa, looking back to look forward. We stand on the shoulders of our honorable ancestors. Their insight guides us. We are rooted in the best of our wisdom and traditions. We understand that the internal peace is our nature response to all challenges. We are one. Those who appear against us have yet to realize this truth. We resolve conflicts by implementing win-win solutions. We avoid doing ourselves harm by avoiding doing harm to others. We hold ourselves and each other accountable with integrity, respect, and discretion. We are self-reflective and work not to point the finger at others. We prioritize relationships, establishing truth and trust and true connections. We work together to protect our community. We build based on the reality of current environment and the people we serve. We share knowledge, each one teach one. We do not speak on what we do not know. We engage in consistent education. We stay efficient through transparency and honesty. We speak truth. Our word is our bond. Peace and blessings. Namaste.